Hey there! So we did it. We covered everything that I wanted to cover in the scope of this course, which means that this is the last episode for DP203 preparation course. So let me talk about the exam, what to expect, how to prepare, how to take it, and then I would like to share some insights about my course and my future plans. So let's get started. Alright, so let's say you watched all those videos. Great, you have the knowledge, you have the skills. So it's a high time to take the exam and prove that you know all this stuff. So if you go to DP203 certification page, you will find here various resources that you should visit before you even register to the exam. So basically what you will have here is some kind of an overview with a list of various resources that will help you to prepare. So you will have some Microsoft learning paths for data engineering on Microsoft Azure. If you have time, if you would like to recap various things using a different course, great, go for it. It would be a really good way to learn the same stuff that I covered, but in a different way. Then, what is even more important are various links. So actually, let me scroll it down a bit. So here we've got exam DP203 study guide, and this one is really important. So let's go there and see what it contains. So basically, it has all the stuff listed that you should know when taking the exam. Also, you can see here any updates to the contents if there were any. But let's focus on the most important part, so what you need to know. And just to give you a heads up, guys, if you watched my course, if you practice the stuff that I was talking about, you will pass the exam without any issues. So don't worry, you will pass. So here you can see all those main Azure services that you should know when taking the exam. And take a note that actually we covered all of them, like Data Factory, Synapse Analytics, Stream Analytics for streaming together with Event Hubs, it was covered. Then Data Lake and Databricks. So those 6 services is the core area of the Azure that you should know. Then you can see which categories or categories of questions you might expect on the exam. And in case of this exam, there are 3. So we have design and implement data storage, which would take more or less 15 to 20% of all questions. Then we've got the biggest part, so you can expect the most questions from this area, which is develop data processing. And finally, we've got about 1/3 of the questions would be about security, monitoring and optimizing data storage and data processing. And I know those skills, they are not very detailed, so if you go down, so let's scroll it a bit, you will see each of those skills described in a more detailed way. So please go for this stuff. And now, don't panic if you will see a line that you have no clue about. Don't worry, you will pass the exam, I assure you. Those things that are listed here, they're just sample topics that might be covered by the exam, but they don't have to, so don't worry. And actually, I don't know all of this stuff, and I passed the exam, so everything will be fine. But if you would like to understand more about the stuff that they listed here, you could revisit the DP203 certification page, and here you will find those exam DP203 prep videos that were actually prepared to cover all those bullet points from the previous screen. So if you go there, you will find 3 videos recorded by some Microsoft trainers that covers those those listed items. And please note that there are 3 of those episodes. So if you have time, I recommend to watch it. So that's yet another thing that you might do to feel better prepared. But you are well prepared, so everything will be fine. I will be repeating this over and over again, but trust me, you are well prepared. Then, if you would like to take a practice assessment, you have this possibility here. Just take the practice assessment. So how does it look like? So simply put, you will have like 50 questions about DP203 exam that were prepared by Microsoft. That should give you more or less idea what you can expect on the exam. But again, if you don't pass this assessment, don't worry, don't panic, everything will be fine. Just use it to see which areas you might need to improve. And the nice thing about this practice assessment is that whenever you choose an option, you have a possibility to check your answer, like here. And actually, I pick a proper answer just by guessing. And the nice thing is that, well, they give you an explanation why this answer is correct and the other ones are incorrect. And you might even find links to Microsoft documentation. So use this stuff, this documentation to deepen your knowledge. So that's a really good thing to do before the exam. But again, if you don't pass, don't panic, don't postpone the exam. Everything will be fine. Then, the next thing that you should do, especially if you've never taken the Microsoft exam, is to run Exam Sandbox. Because that's the software that will allow you to familiarize with the exam ins and outs, how it looks like, how the questions are formed, what type of questions you might expect, how the time is counted, and so on. So actually, let's run the sandbox, and let me quickly go through it to show you what you might see on the exam. Of course, there will be no questions, actual questions. It will just a sample question just to give you an idea how the exam looks like. So let's run the sandbox. And as in case of real exams, you'll have to agree on various stuff. Then you'll get a summary, and the same would look like on the exam. You will see how long the exam takes, how many questions there are, if there are case studies or labs, and so on. This is basic information. And please note about a timer here that gives you, well, time remaining. So let's move on. Then you will see some exam overview and instructions. Please read it. You have additional time to go through this introductory part. It is not counted into the main time of the exam. So take your time to go through all this information. And then again some confirmation that yes, you are ready to start the exam. So let's run it. And that's the sandbox exam, which will show you how the real exam would look like. Actually, the menu here might look a little bit different, especially that you might see some additional icons there during the exam. But more or less the experience would be pretty much the same. So, what they prepared in the sandbox is to show you various categories of questions that you might find on the exam. Of course, it doesn't mean that you'll encounter this particular type of question, but at least you could prepare yourself and know what type of questions you might expect. So this one, multiple choice, is I would say the most common type of questions. So basically you have a question and like four or five answers. Only one of them is correct. And you've got to choose one, right? Pretty simple. And please note that you've got the possibility to mark a question for your review. If you would like to revisit it, that's a way to go. Then the next type of a question is multiple choice. So again, you have a question, and this time you've got multiple options, and you'll need to select multiple, not only a single one. And usually you will know exactly how many choices you have to select, like 2 in this case, whatever makes sense in this kind of question. Then the next type of question is drag and drop. Again, you will have some question at the top, then you might have a number of various options that you have to drag into proper place. And the thing is that the same answer from here, it might be used in multiple places, right? There might be even some answers that you will not use at all. So just because you have various answers, it doesn't mean that you have to use all of them. And the experience is very simple, just drag and drop it. As simple as that. Then we've got a build list reorder, and that one is quite interesting because again, you've got a question here, and basically you're asked to do something, and the stuff that they are asked you to do, it requires various steps done in a correct order. And here on the actions list, you'll see a number of possibilities, number of steps you might take. And now, usually there are more answers that are needed to answer the question. Like in this case, you have to choose 5 tasks, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 options, right? So 2 of them you shouldn't use. And now, it is not enough just to select proper actions. No, you have to order them correctly. So you might need to move them up and down to make sure that going from 1, 2, 3 to 5, they will create this sequence of steps that would answer the question. So you have to know how to do something. And this is a pretty cool question, I would say. More interesting than just choosing A, B, or C. Then the next type is called active screen. And basically here you will see, well, some screen that is active, at least some parts of it. For example, you cannot, in this example, you cannot switch to a different tab. These tabs are not active, but the drop-down is. So you are able to select and interact with some parts of the screen. So it simulates that actually you are doing something on a real environment. Then the next type of question is, well, it's a variation of this ABC choice, right? So you have a question and then various sub-questions, right? And each of them has some answers, and you have to simply choose a proper one, whatever it is, right? That's it. So basically there are 2 questions inside a single question. That's how I treat this type of questions. Then what we have is hot area. So basically here again we've got usually some kind of a screen or UI, and you need to choose something. Very similar to this, to the one that we talked previously that had some active elements. Then what you might see is a question that has some additional details, like a schema here on the exhibit tab. You might, in this case, you have some screen from Windows, but what you might have is like some networking diagram or some database schema or some table definition or whatever is needed to answer the query and to give you some background. So if you see that the question has multiple tabs, make sure to go to this tab to read those additional details that will help you answer the question. Yeah, and the thing is that when you don't answer the question like I did right now, you'll get this pop-up, hey, you didn't finish this, are you sure? So no, actually I forgot to click it, so please do it. Then what we might have is, well, more complex type of question when you've got multiple those additional tabs. So make sure to go through all of them because they are there for purpose. Probably they contain some piece of information that is required for you to answer the question. Then once you finish this, I would say base part of the exam, you will get a summary that will list all the questions, and you will have a mark if you answered the question. If you don't, then, well, it will be clearly visible for you that you missed this one. And if you marked some question for review, it will be a check mark here as well. Now, the thing is that if you finish this section, you will not be able to go back. So take your time to review the questions, especially those ones that you marked for review. And actually, what I often do during the exams is that if I have time, I try to reread every question one more time, just to make sure, just to double check that I got it right. And in case of questions that I wasn't sure about the answer, I marked them. So if I go through all those questions again, I would know exactly which question requires more thoughts just to answer it correctly. Now, it is normal that you'll find a question that you will not be able to answer. You will have no idea how to answer it, and that's fine. Don't worry, don't panic. Make sure to not spend 10 minutes on a single question. It's not worth it. Just mark it for review and go with other questions. Please remember that you have a limited time, so don't spend too much time on a single question. Just move on. And what I like to do is that, well, during the exams, you should have this whiteboard available where you will be able to take some notes. You cannot use pen and paper, but the whiteboard on a computer is fine. So what I do is like this. In case of questions that I have no clue how to answer, I use this whiteboard and let's say indicate that in question number 10, I had options like A, B, C, and D. And just looking at the answers, I know that answer C is for sure incorrect because I know that it doesn't apply here. So at least I'm left with only 3 options that I have to choose from. And now a very important thing is that there are no penalties if you answer the question wrong. There are no negative points. So don't leave any questions unanswered. If you don't know, just take a guess. And in my case, if I know that there are 3 answers possible, then I have 1 chance out of 3 that I will make it right. So just take your guess and let's say answer A is fine and just go with it. If you don't know, just take a guess, but don't overthink it. Don't try to analyze it super deep because it's not worth it. Right. Then what is also nice about those exams is that Microsoft allowed you recently, like a year ago, to use Microsoft Learn documentation during the exam. So yes, you'll have access to Microsoft Learn, which means that if you need some additional information, you might use Microsoft Learn, but only this. You cannot use Google, you cannot use any other websites, but MS Learn is there. But because time is limited, you should know what you are looking for in Microsoft documentation, because otherwise you'll spend too much time just navigating from through MS Learn to find this piece of information, and the time will run out. So make sure that before you take the exam, you familiarize yourself with the way Microsoft Learn is organized, which means that you should go through documentation of all those services and see how it looks like in Microsoft Learn. Right? Learn Microsoft.com and then on those services. And to practice it even better, try to set a task for you, like create, let's say, 3 questions for you that you would like to find in Microsoft Docs in 1 minute or even half a minute. For example, let's say that you don't remember those window functions that are available in Stream Analytics. You know that they exist. You know that they are window functions, but you don't remember the differences. So start your timer and make sure that in half a minute you're able to find this information in Microsoft documentation. And repeat this exercise for every service. Make sure that you know how to navigate within MS Learn. And secondly, you have to have a clue about the thing you're looking for. If you don't, then documentation is too big. You will not find the answer, right? You have to know more or less what to look for. But at least documentation is there, which means, for example, that you don't have to remember syntax for various statements because it is in documentation. And that's a very good move from Microsoft, because in your regular work, you will be using documentation. So there is no point in memorizing all of this information. You just need to know that this stuff exists and where to find it. So please practice this. Practice finding information in Microsoft Learn without using Google. So that's it. And let's go back to our exam sandbox. So let's finish the section. Yeah, let's finish it. And then once this main part of the exam is finished, you might have these case studies, which have a separate timer, I believe. I think so. Anyway, at the beginning of the exam, you will be told if there are any case studies. At the overview page, you will find this information. And now, case studies are super interesting and stressful at the same time. Because how it works? Well, you will have 1, maybe 2 or 0 case studies, and basically it is a business scenario and that you have to familiarize with. So you will have a lot of information about this particular scenario, multiple tabs with a lot of information. Actually, in this case, there is not that many, or maybe there is. And then you will be asked several questions about this particular environment, this scenario. So the scenario remains the same, but questions just change. And my way of taking case studies is to quickly go through all this information, right? Every tab, every page. But don't try to memorize everything, because probably you will not be able to do this. Just take a look what kind of information is there, So later on, when answering the specific question, you will know where to look for additional details. But please go through all those pages, because in some of them there might be some special requirements that will rule out some of the possible answers. And in case of this case study, there are 3 questions, all of them around the same case study. So let's say that's the answer. Then you would have question number 2. It might be obviously of a different type, but again, the scenario is the same, right? The same overview, the same environment, the same requirements. Only the question is different. Like so. And let's say IP address, whatever they are asking for. So that's it. Again, you will see your summary from this case study part, and then you might finish the exam. Then you might have labs. Some exams have labs, some don't. So please watch this video to understand what labs are and what you might expect. And basically that's it about the exam type, exam and exam questions. Actually, there is one question type or scenario that they didn't cover here. So you might have a section of the exam where, like in case study, they will give you some scenario, a shorter one, not covering multiple pages, very short description, and they will ask you several questions about it, one after one. And basically, the goal of this type of questions is to determine if given question can be answered by an answer that they provide. I know I complicated this, so let me give you an example. So let's say that the scenario is you have a nail that you want to hammer. And the question is, can you hammer a nail using a rock? Right? And the answer is yes, you can. What? Hammer a nail using a rock? Yes, it is possible. Please note that in this type of questions, it is important to indicate if you will achieve the goal, not if the tool you use is the best one. You know that if you would like to hammer a nail, you would choose a hammer, right? Because that's the tool that is designed to this type of work. But if you take a rock, a stone, it would also work. It wouldn't be as fast, as convenient, but it will get the job done. And therefore, the answer should be yes. Then you might get another question. So again, you want to hammer a nail, and the question is, can you use a banana to do this? And the answer is no, you cannot use a banana to hammer a nail, right? So you will have the same scenario and multiple choices, one after the other. And the thing here is that you will not be able to get back to some previous questions. Right, so that's it about preparations. Is there anything else on this page that is worth taking a look at? We talked about practice assessment, sandbox, and those videos, so that's fine. Study guides, please go through it just to see what's there. Here you will find links to Microsoft documentation, to MS Learn, so please visit those pages to see where the various things are described. So that's it. Now, how to register for the exam. Again, if you did this in the past, then it's obvious. If you don't, then you would have to go to the main page of the certification, and here you would find this schedule exam button. And now, it would be done through this third-party company, Pearson VUE, that partners with Microsoft. And basically, you would need a Microsoft profile just to be able to register. You would need to provide some information, register if you don't have an account, and then just select time and date where and when you would like to take the exam. And now, the nice thing about those exams is that you might take them online. So you don't have to go to this certification center. You might use your own home, your own environment to take the exam. And that's my preferred way of doing this. But please note that if you do it this way, you have to make sure that your environment matches various criteria, like you have fast enough network, you have camera so they can see you if you're not cheating, you have to have a microphone and speakers. And there is a tool that allows you to check your environment before you take the exam. And now, if you register for online exam, you'll be given a date when the exam starts. About, I don't know, half a minute earlier or 20 minutes, you will be able to check in. And basically, by check-in, you will enter a queue of exam takers. And during this time you are waiting in a queue, you will have to take photos of your surrounding, like 4 photos, front, back, left, and right. And you will have to submit those photos through a web page or through application. I think that's also possible. So please make sure that you are prepared. Also, you will need to take a photo of your ID, like driver license or your passport or ID, just to prove your identity. When it comes to your room, where you are taking the exam, make sure that no one enters the room during the exam. You cannot speak, you cannot use any devices like smartwatches, mobile phones, tablets, computers, obviously. What also I had to do one day when I was waiting in a queue, I was asked to take a photo of a bookshelf that I have here in front of me with a bigger zoom, just to prove that I don't have any helpers there that would allow me to cheat during the exam. Also, please make sure to unplug all additional monitors, displays, printers, just basically clear your desk. So if you don't any of those additional stuff, just move it away. It will be easier for you and less stressful. And my recommendation for you guys is to start check-in process as soon as possible, because it takes time. And especially when you're waiting for the exam and you're watching the timer that is getting closer to your scheduled time, it might be quite nervous. So take your time to prepare from this organizational point of view. And basically that's it. And one more time, you will pass the exam. Don't worry, I'm sure that you will. Now, because that's the last episode of this course, let me give you some stats that I gathered. So basically, this one is episode number 54, so quite a lot of episodes were recorded during the course of this course. I have recorded over 50 hours of content, way more than I thought. And actually, it took way more effort than I anticipated, but it was really fun. It was worth it. I gathered almost 4,000 subscribers, so that's way more than I hoped for. So thank you very much for joining and subscribing and watching this channel. Thank you, guys. That's for you. Now, I have a request for you, guys. If you liked this course, please take your time, spend 10 minutes and drop me a comment and write what you liked. If you didn't like it, also please write it down and leave me a note. Why? Because I want to improve, simple as that. I want to keep recording new episodes for some other areas of Azure, still about data engineering, but I would like to improve. So please be verbose, provide as many details as possible, just to help me improve. And what's more important, if you passed the exam, and you will pass the exam, let me know. I want to celebrate it with you. And now, I would like to say thank you to all of the channel supporters. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your support. If you would like to become a channel supporter, then somewhere here is a link that will open a video where I explain how you can support me and my channel. So thank you very much for doing this. Now, about my plans. So first of all, I need to take a break. It was a huge effort recording those over 50 episodes. It took me over a year doing this basically week after week. So it was a lot of work and I just need to take a short break. But don't worry, I will be back. I really like recording those videos. Now, soon I will post a comment that is visible to data engineers channel members, where I will ask you to drop me some ideas for topics that you would like to cover by me. So if there is anything that you're very interested in, just let me know and I will try to cover this if possible. We'll see. Then I will probably not record, at least not anytime soon, such long series like this one, 50 episodes. No, it's too long. So I will focus on some shorter series or even a standalone episodes. And maybe I will rethink the upload frequency. Maybe once a week is too frequent. Maybe I will do it twice a week. I don't know it. But I will keep recording those videos, that's for sure. And basically, that's it. That was the last episode. Thank you very much for watching all of this stuff. I hope that you learned a lot. And please remember that certificate is just cherry on top. What really matters is your knowledge, your skills that you earned during the preparation. So fingers crossed, you will pass the exam and let me know when you do this. Take care, guys.